What if one of the greatest defensive forces in NFL history almost never took the field? As the tunnel lights flicker and the roar of the crowd builds, the story of T.J. Watt begins not with triumph, but with moments of doubt, devastating injuries, and a decision that could have changed his life forever. Emerging through the haze of smoke, T.J. Watt is now a symbol of perseverance. His staggering achievements, a Defensive Player of the Year award, multiple sack titles, and countless broken records stand as proof of his relentless determination. But behind the stats lies something even more remarkable, a journey of grit, transformation, and unyielding mental toughness. Greatness isn't given, it's earned, one battle at a time, the narrator intones. This is the story of T.J. Watt, a player who turned every setback into a stepping stone, rewriting what it means to be unstoppable in the NFL. The camera pans to Watt walking along the sideline, helmet in hand. The screen fades to black, and the narrative begins. In the small town of Pukie, Wisconsin, a place nestled amidst serene lakes and rolling hills, the Watt household buzzed with relentless energy. Trent Jordan Watt, known to everyone simply as TJ, was the youngest of three brothers born to John and Connie Watt. From an early age, TJ found himself in a household where competition wasn't just encouraged, it was a way of life. Whether it was backyard football, hockey practice, or just a game of driveway basketball, the Watt boys played to win. For TJ, growing up under the shadow of his older brothers, JJ and Derek, was both a blessing and a challenge. JJ, already a towering figure in football, had carved a path that was impossible to ignore. Derek, too, was earning accolades as a relentless athlete, but TJ wasn't content with being known as the youngest Watt. As a child, he was smaller than his brothers, but never allowed that to hinder his competitive spirit. "Don't go easy on TJ," his father often told the older boys during backyard games. And they didn't. Every bruise and scrape became a badge of honor for TJ, a symbol of his refusal to back down. The Watt family's ethos was deeply rooted in hard work. John Watt worked as a firefighter for over 25 years, often returning home from grueling shifts, smelling of soot, only to join his boys for a quick game of catch. Connie worked her way up from a bank teller to a vice president at a local inspections company, juggling her demanding career with ensuring her sons had everything they needed. "We weren't the kind of family that handed things to you," TJ would later recall. "If you wanted something, you worked for it." Watching their parents sacrifice and persevere became the foundation of the Watt brothers' mental toughness. Sports were a constant in DJ's life, and he tried his hand at everything. From hockey to baseball to basketball, he was always in motion. But it wasn't until 5th grade that he strapped on a football helmet for the first time. The moment he did, it was clear he had found his calling. By his high school years, TJ was a standout athlete, playing multiple positions: quarterback, linebacker, tight end, and punter, while continuing to hone his competitive edge. Yet, even as he excelled, whispers of comparison to his older brothers followed him. As the youngest in a family of achievers, TJ knew he had to carve his own identity. "I didn't want to be JJ's little brother forever," he confessed. That desire fueled his drive, but it also created immense pressure. As he rose through the ranks, there were moments when the weight of expectations threatened to consume him. Could he live up to the Watt name, or would he always remain in his brother's shadow? TJ's childhood laid the foundation for the resilience that would define his career. But it wasn't just the competitive spirit of his upbringing or the relentless work ethic of his parents that shaped him. It was something deeper, something he would discover in the face of adversity. And adversity, as it turned out, was closer than TJ ever imagined. The sound of cleats on the locker room floor echoed in the empty stadium as doubt crept into the back of his mind. At the University of Wisconsin, the expectations were sky high. But for the first time in his life, the relentless drive that had always propelled him seemed to waver. A promising start as a tight end was derailed when a single drill during bowl game preparations caused his knee to buckle. Doctors called it a patellar subluxation, a dislocation that tore crucial ligaments. For TJ, it felt like something far worse. a betrayal by his own body. Months of grueling rehab followed, only for the injury to strike again, this time in the other knee. A second surgery, more rehab. Each time he stepped back onto the field, determined to reclaim his place, the pain returned. By the time the third injury hit, he couldn't help but wonder if the sport he loved was slipping through his fingers. The idea of giving up football began to feel less like defeat and more like a practical decision. Maybe I'm not built for this, he thought, as the weight of 3 consecutive injuries pushed him closer to walking away. Support came in the form of family. His parents moved closer to campus, filling the void of disappointment with meals and late-night talks. His brothers, particularly JJ, reminded him of the resiliency that had been ingrained in him since childhood. "You're a Watt," they said, as if the name itself carried a spark that could reignite his passion. But even with their encouragement, the road to recovery was far from easy. Hours of icing, rehab sessions that seemed endless, and the isolation that comes with being sidelined wore at his confidence. Everything changed with a single conversation. Head coach Paul Christ, noticing a troubling pattern in how TJ's injuries occurred, suggested a position switch. The move from tight end to outside linebacker wasn't just strategic. It was necessary for his health. Initially, the suggestion stung. Was this an admission of failure? But as he thought it through and consulted with JJ, who had made a similar switch early in his own career, TJ saw the opportunity. This wasn't a step back. It was a chance to rewrite his story. The transition was anything but smooth. He didn't know the first thing about lining up as a pass rusher, let alone how to read offensive schemes. Coaches patiently worked with him, teaching him the basics, while teammates helped him adjust to the physical demands of his new role. Slowly but surely, he began to find his rhythm. Practice drills turned into instincts, and instincts turned into game-changing plays. It wasn't long before TJ found himself thriving, not just surviving, in his new position. That season, Wisconsin's defense flourished, with TJ playing a critical role in pivotal games. The cheers from the crowd after a key sack, the feeling of delivering a game-changing play, these moments reminded him of why he'd fought so hard to stay in the game. The journey from tight end to defensive star wasn't just a position change. It was a transformation that proved what he already knew deep down. Setbacks are temporary, but resilience is forever. What's most remarkable isn't just that TJ overcame those injuries. It's how he did it with unshakable determination and a refusal to let circumstances define his destiny. This chapter of his life isn't just about football. It's about grit, adaptability, and believing in the power of change. If you've ever faced a moment where quitting seemed easier than pushing forward, smash that like button. And if you've been inspired by TJ's unyielding spirit, hit subscribe now. Because as we dive deeper into this journey, there's a lot more to learn from one of the NFL's most resilient stars. The room was filled with anticipation, the kind that makes every second feel like an eternity. Family and close friends sat tightly packed, their eyes fixed on the television. One by one, names were called. Each pick that wasn't his sent a pang of doubt through the air. But amidst the tension, there was an unshakable belief, a quiet fire that burned brightly within him. It wasn't a matter of if, but when. When the Pittsburgh Steelers finally called his name as the 30th overall pick in the first round of the NFL draft, the room erupted. For him, it wasn't just a celebration. It was a vindication. Every surgery, every sleepless night questioning his future, every ounce of sweat poured into rehab, it had all led to this moment. But the journey to the pros wasn't the end of the struggle. It was just the beginning. The jump to the NFL is like stepping into a whole new world. Rookie camps were grueling, and the competition was fierce. Among his challenges was facing off against veterans like James Harrison, a Steelers legend known for his intensity and raw power. Earning his place on the roster meant proving himself every single day, not just as an athlete, but as a teammate and a professional. Coaches demanded perfection, teammates pushed him relentlessly, and every rep felt like a test of whether he truly belonged at this level. In his debut game, everything came together. Under the bright lights and roaring crowd of Week 1, he delivered an unforgettable performance with 2 sacks, 6 solo tackles, and an interception. It was more than just a strong start, it was a statement. The whispers of "he's only here because of his last name" began to fade, replaced by the realization that he was a force to be reckoned with in his own right. The fans loved him, but the respect of the locker room meant even more. Rookies often fade as the season wears on, but not him. He embraced the grind, watching hours of film, asking countless questions, and refining his game. His relentless work ethic didn't just elevate his performance, it inspired those around him. Still, as the playoffs approached, the weight of expectations returned. Would his inexperience show? Could he handle the pressure of postseason football? The answers to those questions weren't always perfect. His first playoff game was tough, a bitter loss that highlighted how much room there was to grow. But instead of allowing it to define him, he used it as fuel. Every setback became a lesson, every critique a tool for improvement. By the time his rookie season ended, the foundation had been set. The league had taken notice, but deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. He wasn't here to just make an impression, he was here to dominate. As the next season loomed, one question lingered. How far could he push himself? The next chapter would reveal not just his physical dominance, but the depth of his mental resilience in the face of mounting pressure. The roar of the stadium was deafening, but beneath the cheers and chants, a dull ache lingered. It started as a small tweak during a play, nothing out of the ordinary for a professional athlete. But by the time he jogged off the field, the discomfort had bloomed into something undeniable. A torn pectoral muscle was the verdict, a devastating injury that would sideline him for most of the 2022 season. For someone whose very identity was built on being relentless, sitting on the sidelines felt like the ultimate punishment. The weeks that followed were a test of patience and perspective. Watching his teammates struggle without him drove home just how much his presence meant. The Steelers, a team built on the grit of their defense, floundered in his absence, winning only one of their next 7 games. The gap he left wasn't just in statistics, it was in the heart and soul of the team. Still, recovery was a long road, one paved with frustration, pain, and moments of self-doubt. Would he ever be the same? Rehabilitation became his battleground. Each rep in the weight room, every excruciating stretch, was a step toward reclaiming what was his. Nights were filled with ice packs and motivational videos, reminders of why he couldn't give up. The world might have doubted his return, but deep down, he knew this was just another hurdle. "You don't come this far to only come this far," he repeated to himself, day after day. When he finally stepped back onto the field, it was as if he had never left. The fire was still there, burning brighter than ever. His return wasn't just a boost to the team's morale, it was a spark that reignited their season. With him leading the charge, the Steelers won 7 of their last 9 games, clawing their way back to a winning record. He wasn't just playing, he was dominating, tying his career best in interceptions and delivering game-changing plays that reminded the league of his unmatched presence. But triumphs like these don't come without scars. He knew the toll his relentless style of play was taking on his body. The injuries, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, they were constant companions. Yet, every time he was knocked down, he found a way to rise. His ability to channel adversity into motivation wasn't just remarkable, it was what made him extraordinary. As the dust settled on another grueling season, questions swirled around what was next. Could he continue to carry the weight of a franchise on his shoulders? How much more could his body endure? These doubts were valid, but for him, they weren't deterrents, they were challenges. The kind of challenges that would either break you or make you legendary. The next chapter wasn't just about numbers or records. It was about proving that resilience wasn't a moment, it was a lifestyle. And with everything he'd been through, one thing was certain: his greatest battles were still to come. Every great athlete faces moments when physical ability alone isn't enough. When the body falters, the mind takes over, and in those moments, the strongest thrive. For him, those moments weren't rare, they were constant. The setbacks that might have broken another player only served to sharpen his resolve. Mental resilience wasn't just a skill for him, it was his foundation. Injuries had taught him patience. There were days when frustration would bubble to the surface. Days when the idea of missing another game or enduring another surgery felt insurmountable. Yet, each time, he found himself pulling strength from the lessons instilled by his parents. His father, a firefighter, had faced unimaginable pressure, and his mother had risen to every challenge thrown her way. They had taught him that hard times were temporary, but the way you face them lasts forever. His mental toughness wasn't developed in isolation. Motivational speakers like Eric Thomas became his unseen mentors during recovery. Thomas's voice rang in his ears during endless rehab sessions, repeating phrases like, "When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful." These words weren't just inspiration. They were lifelines, helping him push through when the mountain seemed too steep to climb. Off the field, he sought every edge he could find. Hours of game film became his secret weapon, a way to see the game unfold before it even happened. He didn't just study his opponents, he studied himself, breaking down every move, every misstep, to refine his craft. This relentless pursuit of perfection wasn't just about being better, it was about ensuring he left no stone unturned in his quest for greatness. Even with his accolades, the quiet moments revealed his true character. When asked how he manages the pressure, his answer is always the same: one play at a time. It's a mantra that has carried him through the most harrowing games and the longest nights. For him, the present is all that matters. It's not about what he's done or what he's yet to achieve. It's about the moment in front of him and how he can make it count. With each passing season, the whispers about his legacy grow louder. Fans and analysts alike debate where he will rank among the all-time greats. But for him, the focus isn't on comparisons or accolades, it's on being the best version of himself. And while the future is uncertain, one thing remains clear: his journey isn't finished. As the stage is set for another chapter, a question lingers. How does someone who has already redefined excellence continue to raise the bar? The answer lies not in his physical prowess, but in his unshakable will to never settle. Closing, the crowd fades, the game clock hits 0, and the stadium empties. For most, the night is over. But for him, it's another opportunity to reflect not just on the game, but on the journey that brought him here. The struggles, the victories, the sacrifices, they all play in his mind like a highlight reel. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about proving that persistence is stronger than doubt, that resilience can outlast adversity. He's often asked what drives him, what fuels the fire to keep pushing when his body aches and the pressure mounts. The answer isn't complex, it's love. Love for the game, for his team, for the chance to be better than he was yesterday. Every tackle, every sack, every fumble recovery is more than just a statistic. It's a testament to his unyielding commitment to the process, to the grind, and to the belief that greatness is built, not given. If this journey has resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. It's a small way to support the stories that inspire and the channel that brings them to life. His legacy isn't defined solely by records or accolades, though there are many. It's etched in the memories of his teammates who speak of his leadership with reverence. It's in the hearts of fans who find inspiration in his perseverance. And it's in the dreams of countless young athletes who see in him what's possible when you refuse to give up, no matter the odds. Even as he prepares for the next season, there's a quiet understanding that his story is still being written. Each snap, each play, each moment on the field adds another chapter. And while the future remains uncertain, one thing is clear: his impact will ripple far beyond the game. As the screen fades to black, his voice echoes one final time: you don't have to be the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest. You just have to keep going.